Fantasy Football Factory Week 5. I'm here with the King of the South, Mincy. We got Moody on the sticks. I'm Stephen Shea. We are presented, as always, by DraftKings. Football fans, if you want to up your game day experience, my partners at DraftKings have a brand new way to play daily fantasy sports with the Pick 6 app. All new customers who play $5 will get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now. Use promo code FACTORY, FACTORY, only at the DraftKings Pick 6 app. The crown is yours. It's super easy. You just pick at least 2 players. Choose will have more or less than a stat. This is something I do with my trusted data stuff with props. Like they will have more or less than 28.5 receiving yards, more or less than half an interception thrown, over under or more or less than 1.5 passing touchdowns, stuff like that. Lock them in and compete against others for your shot at huge cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 now with promo code FACTORY, FACTORY, only on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, only on the DraftKings Pick 6 app. The crown is yours. Mincy, we have a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on in the fantasy world. Let's start with kind of like the headline thing, which is, Shefty's tweeting about it. This is big news, especially with you being a Saints guy. Davante Adams. The Raiders have said that it's come out through Shefty, that they're looking for at least a second-round pick. It seems his list of preferred teams is the Saints and the Jets. Saints obviously familiar with Derek Carr, their receivers coach as well. With Jets, obviously Aaron Rodgers. Some other dark horse teams in the mix. How do you feel about Davante Adams, and where do you think his best spot to land from a fantasy perspective this season would be?
Well, I think, first of all, from a fantasy perspective, I actually think it is the Saints because of his relationship with Derek Carr.
College quarterback.
Yeah,
and Raiders,
college and Raiders. You already have a chemistry there. And when you look at the Saints situation, they've got Olave, who's really good, Shaheed, who's a deep threat gadget guy, but they have no one else at all at the wide receiver position. So he would come in, and it would be him and Olave with the Shaheed moving all over the formation. Immediately would have a target share. Carr's throwing the ball well in this Clint Kubiak offense. And when you look at the Saints right now, they're 2-2, but they got a veteran roster, as always. As Mickey Loomis has done his entire career, they always mortgage now. For the future always gets mortgaged. Why would you not do this? And the thing with Davante Adams, I actually did some research on his contract. It's not that bad this year. It's over $30 million the next 3 years. He would have to restructure in the future for sure. But in the here and now, go for it. The Saints got a shot to win this NFC South. Really crowded. I think that you've got all these veteran guys on the roster. Go for it. I think fantasy perspective-wise, in that offense, it would be really good. The Jets are the obvious thing because Aaron Rodgers, but Rodgers is not. He keeps going under. The passing offense, the offense is kind of struggling. The dark horse that isn't getting mentioned is the Commanders because Jaden Daniels is on a rookie contract. Yep. And I think that would be a good fit. I don't know if Adams wants that, but he's throwing the ball well, and other than McLaurin, they need receiving help, and they've got the money, and they're competing. So that would be an interesting option as well. But I just think because of the Carr relationship, the receiving coach relationship, and the fact that the Saints' receiving depth is non-existent, go for it here. I'd pay the second-round pick and just deal with the restructuring the contract later. I don't know how the Saints have never gotten in. They always find a way with the salary cap that makes no sense. So why not now?
I'd actually argue that the best landing spot is with the Jets, just because of his familiarity with Aaron Rodgers. With the Saints, certainly he has that familiarity with Derek Carr, the receivers coach, but they're in a brand new offense, Clint Kubiak. I don't know if he's going to be familiar with all of that and how quickly he's going to get up to speed. With Aaron Rodgers, at least you have a guy who's been in the league forever that can be like, all right, let's do it this, and kind of translate things for him the way he wants to be done. Obviously, Nathaniel Hackett is there, who was with them in Green Bay, so there is going to be some carryover. But the Jets, they worry me a little bit. Garrett Wilson has been a giant disappointment so far in fantasy. Breece Hall got like 2 points in most fantasy leagues this week, so can they block? Can they sustain drives? They're not a high-flying offense despite having very good skill position players. I'm interested to see how they carry on through the rest of the year.
No, the Rodgers thing's the obvious fit. People were talking about that this offseason.
Yep.
This is not a surprise. I think he's done playing for the Raiders. They're already talking about it. So it's going to be fascinating to see. I think either way, if he goes to the Saints or Jets, though, either situation's better than playing for what's going on in the Raiders right now.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some of the top guys that have emerged this year. We got obviously Malik Neighbors. We touched on him a little bit last week, but he had an incredible game on Thursday of week 4. We got Nico Collins, who had a monster game, double-digit catch game. And then DK Metcalf, who's kind of reemerged in this Ryan Grubbs offense as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. So who's the guy? And, we kind of saw this with Rashee Rice too, but now he is injured. We'll talk about that in a moment. But who's a guy that is if you have him this season, you are riding high for you, Mincy?
Well, I mean, I know it's the quarterback position, but we were all over the Jaden Daniels thing. And, you look at what he's doing to the NFL right now. He's all the way down to 25-1 to win the MVP. And the thing with fantasy, he runs too. I mean, that's the whole thing when it comes to fantasy. It's having those quarterbacks that can run. He got another rushing touchdown this week. He's had a bunch already. He's slinging the ball. He's not turning the ball over. They've punted once in 3 weeks. And I think if you have Jaden Daniels on your fantasy team right now, I just don't see how there can be any kind of negative. We'll see if his body holds up. He's done a good job protecting himself the last couple of weeks from taking hits because that's always the concern with him being leaner, taking shots. But as long as he's healthy with the value you got on him, you're just rolling. I mean, he's QB1 crushing.
Yeah. 2 guys I would point out. One for my Bucks, Chris Godwin has just been steady Eddie. He's been in that Cooper Kupp,
especially PPR
type role. Yes. Mr. Consistency. But one guy who's been good for probably 2 of the 4 games, but his arrow is firmly pointed up with Jordan Love back, is Jaden Reed. Going into the year, we wondered who out of this Green Bay offense was going to emerge. Christian Watson is the classic kind of wide receiver 1 with the attributes, the size, speed, etc. But he's always kind of had something go wrong with him, whether it be drops, health, etc. We're seeing the health pop up again. He's got an ankle. But now, Jaden Reed is doing he's kind of in the Deebo Samuel role where he's running the ball. And he's attacking the ball in the air with his catches. He's scoring. Undersized guy, but he's making it happen right now. He's got 17 catches, 336 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 6 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown on the ground.
And also got to mention that 2 of those games were with Malik Willis. And still have those numbers when Jordan Love's basically played 2 games.
Yes.
You got to feel good, and I'm sure we're going to get to that because they've got a potential fun matchup against the LA Rams this week. It could be higher scoring.
Yeah, and I mentioned it a moment ago, but Rashee Rice going down. We're unsure as of taping right now. We're taping this Wednesday morning. What it is, there are reports it could be an ACL, but then they are not releasing word exactly on what it is just yet, which apparently is good. Who in the Chiefs' offense right now is worth owning? Because Patrick Mahomes has not been good from a fantasy perspective. They are 4-0 and they're winning. Kelsey's obviously been a disappointment. Rashee Rice injured. Isaiah Pacheco injured. So who do you want in this Chiefs offense starting on your fantasy team?
Well, the first thing I want to bring up, and this is something I never thought we'd say in a fantasy football podcast, is it time to bench Patrick Mahomes in fantasy because of the situation? You looked at this offense preseason. Pacheco, they brought in Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, first-round pick, Kelsey, Rashee Rice. You had speed. You had options everywhere. It felt like Mahomes was going to re-break out. This thing with no Pacheco, Hollywood Brown's out for the year, Rashee Rice now out. This thing is like, I mean, what do they have? Like, Worthy caught a long touchdown this week, but what we've seen out of him so far is he's a gadget guy at this point. He's not like a number 1 NFL receiver at all. You got to think they're going to keep trying to feature him more. Kelsey did have a better game against the Chargers, finally had like 90 yards, but he's been going way under all year. The Chiefs are doing just enough to win every week. They're somehow 4-0. They have a good defense, but from a fantasy perspective right now, I mean, I think it's worth bringing up on. I don't know if you even start Mahomes. It's literally at that point.
So right now, last year there was, I believe he was like QB8, and so people were like, all right, well, bounce back year for Mahomes. Obviously, we're unsure with what was going to happen with Rashee Rice, but the drafting of Xavier Worthy, another year with Kelsey, Pacheco healthy, maybe that last year was an anomaly. This year right now in 4-point passing touchdowns league, he's QB 16. So there's some serious worry about where he will finish the year, but also, is he a week-to-week guy that you can go, or is he a matchup-based guy? If you're in a super flex league where it's 2 quarterback, he's likely a first-round pick. So some big-time worries in KC. But are you good with Travis Kelce now?
I think you've got to be this week. The Saints specifically allowed Dallas Goedert to have 170 yards a couple weeks ago. So I think Kelsey this week is a good option. I mean, I'm not bullish on him long term this year because I do think he's slowing down. When you watch him, he's just not getting in and out of his breaks. He's not getting the separation. He's not explosive anymore. But he's still got the target share because who else is going to catch the freaking ball? Well, they got Juju, the ghost of Juju Smith-Schuster out there, Justin Watson. I mean, it's bad. And the thing with KC, ultimately, it's about winning football games. We're worried about fantasy football here, but they found a formula that they used last year where they kind of lollygagged it and would just never win and never cover all year, and they snuck into the playoffs and got hot. They're just figuring it out on offense right now. And, they scored 17 points against the Chargers. What was it, like 22 against Atlanta? They struggled against the Bengals, kind of got lucky and pulled it out late. They're going to keep doing just enough to win, and it just is what it is.
Are there any guys in the backfield that you would consider starting?
On KC?
Yes.
I think Kareem Hunt's going to keep emerging.
Yeah.
I just think that, even though he's 29, he sat out a lot the last few years, so he's not like an old 29.
Sure, yeah.
He doesn't, he hadn't because of the way
he's a third down back with Chubb.
Yeah, and I think that he's in a spot where he knows the offense. He won the rushing title forever ago, 6 years ago when he was 23. And you look at the rest of the guys, like Carson Steele is fun to have, but that's not a fantasy guy. P-Ryan had a touchdown. Maybe he's the third down back kind of thing. But I think Kareem Hunt is the one I would want.
Okay. All right, let's dive into the Week 5 slate. So we're just going to look at Sunday games. That's the classic DFS. So we're going to exclude Thursday night. And then is the Sunday London game. We have a London game that's going to be included in this, yeah?
Let's see if it. I'm not sure.
Actually, no.
I don't think. No, when I looked it up, I didn't
Rodgers.
see it. I didn't see it. So that's 8:30 Central kickoff. Jets and Vikings in London. The Sam Darnold revenge game.
Yes. So we're just going to go real quick. Miami, New England. That's the lowest point total of the week, 35.5. We have a 36.5, which is Las Vegas, Denver. We do have some high totals this week, though. We got a couple 46.5. Indy, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Houston. We got a 48.5 with Green Bay and the Rams.
Cardinals-Niners is hot, too.
Clay Matthews game. Cardinals-Niners, we got 50.5. And Baltimore-Cincy, 50.5. Just looking at the overall matchups. Let's talk about the individual positions. Quarterback market, we got Josh Allen starts it off, $7,700. Lamar Jackson, $7,500. CJ Stroud, $7,200, and then it falls off pretty well after there with Jaden Daniels at $68. Goes all the way down to Jacoby Brissett at $4,900. Is there anyone that stands out to you on this list?
Well, okay, when I looked at it, I was looking at the top of the market and the value, and Daniels doesn't have as good of a matchup against Cleveland at home this week, but it's just the rushing value. I mean, I just think you got to start him right now. He's so hot that you're starting him until the wheels fall off, and $6,800 is still cheaper than those top guys. I think there's an argument to be made for Allen to have a good bounce-back game off that Sunday night. And that game being in Houston, I think that game could be a little higher scoring and get a little wild. Lamar, the Bengals have a good pass D and a bad run D. And so Lamar could have it rushing, but I also think they're going to run the ball with Henry a good bit in that game. So I actually went with Dan. I mean, I know it's like very biased, but I'm just this Daniels thing. I mean, he's so hot that I just can't go against him.
Yeah. One guy I would point to, Joe Flacco, $5,500. With Jonathan Taylor potentially out, high ankle sprain. Looks like Trey Sermon is a pretty popular waiver wire ad this week. He's a guy where, we're playing for these bonuses. 300 yards passing is 3 extra points. If they can't run the ball, he's going to throw it a ton. We saw this last year in Cleveland. I think Joe Flacco is a pretty good value at $5,500, which is under cost.
Well, yeah, the only thing about that is there's a weird thing in the NFL where some teams struggle in some situations year to year. And, dude, the Colts just play like shit in Jacksonville every year. I mean, it's like one of those where if you go through the last 5 years, I don't know that they've scored more than 16 points in a game in Jacksonville. It's just a weird thing for them. I don't know why it is, but they just really, really, really struggle down there. And, I don't know. That's just my one concern.
This is a different Jacksonville. This Jacksonville team is bad.
Oh, they're horrible.
They should have. They had the ball up 3 with 4 minutes left and couldn't close that out against
They could, and they blew the Miami Week 1 game, too.
Yep. Moody, is there anyone that stands out to you in the quarterback market?
One thing that I'm thinking about doing right now in the quarterback market, and I do this almost every week, I bargain shop at the quarterback spot. I am looking at Deshaun Watson at 5,300 against Washington. Washington's secondary has been awful. They played better last week. That was probably the best defensive showing we've seen from Washington yet this year. But they are giving up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. And at 5,300, I think this is the one spot where I would play with Deshaun Watson this week. I expect a big week from Amari Cooper. I think the Browns will probably be playing from behind a big portion of this game and will have a lot of points in the second half for Deshaun Watson. This is the only week that I'll be riding with Deshaun Watson. But this has kind of been my plan. It's worked out. I've been having pretty good weeks. I've been steadily making money on DraftKings. I love the head-to-head stuff. So the bargain shopping at the quarterback spot has been my strategy so far, and it looks like Deshaun Watson is going to be my bargain guy this week.
Okay, I like that. Bargain shopping at quarterback is fun. It's very rare that one of the top of the market guys. I mean, you do have Lamar at $7,500 in the highest point total of the week with 50.5, but it is a divisional opponent. Interesting.
I considered Purdy too. Arizona. Purdy's his yards per his yards per attempt are crazy. I mean, it's like he did that. He led the league in yards per attempt last year. He's throwing like 25 passes a game and gets to 300 yards. It's wild. And then now that Debo's back with Debo, Jennings and Ayuk's still struggling, but they've got some dudes. And Arizona's secondary sucks.
Yeah. Let's move on to the running backs. We start at Derrick Henry, 5,800 in a matchup against Cincy, who obviously DJ Reader is now in Detroit. Kyron Williams, 7,600. Jordan Mason, 74. A-Chance, 7,200. James Cook, 7,000. We got Kenneth Walker at 6,800, and then it falls off quite a bit after that. Is there anybody that you really like for the running backs market?
I just don't see how you don't like Jordan Mason against Arizona. They're going to run it down their throats. I mean, Arizona, their defense looks bad. It seems like the wheels are cut. Last couple of weeks have been, they've fallen off a little bit against Detroit and the Commanders, and the Niners are going to run the ball with Shanahan. I know 7,400 is a lot, but I mean, I think it's the thing with Jordan Mason. I don't think the floor is very low. I think it's like, he's probably going to run for 100 yards and a touchdown and catch a few passes. There's not a lot of bust potential there.
Yeah. You got to go at the top of the market at some place. I feel like this is the Derrick Henry spot. Obviously, he's coming off, 199 yard game. He had 3 touchdowns in that game. He's an incredible player. This is a 50.5 point game. The Bengals cannot stop the run. This is a spot where you have money. Use it wisely. I think this is where you go name brand Derrick Henry here in the running back market. Moody, how do you feel about this position?
As far as the value is concerned, somebody I'm looking at is Cam Akers at 5,500. That he has to be the starting back, though. If Mixon is healthy, that's going to completely change my mind on this. Buffalo has been really good against the pass. They've been really poor against the run. We saw what happened to him last week. I'm not saying Cam Akers is Derrick Henry by any means, but the volume should be there. He should get the goal line carries. I think at 5,500, Cam Akers presents pretty good value as long as Mixon is out.
Okay, I like that. All right, let's go on to the receivers market. We got Jamar Chase, top of the market, obviously highest point total. We talked about this. $8,000. Nico Collins, the aforementioned, $7,700. We got Tyreek Hill with they named Tyler Huntley the starter for this week at least. $7,600. Marvin Harrison Jr., $75,000. Malik Neighbors, questionable with a concussion right now, $7,300. DK Metcalf, $7,000. It falls off after that with Diggs at $6,900. We got some good value going all the way down to $4,000. Mincy, who stands out to you in the receiver market?
I'm going back to the Niners thing, and maybe it's a gut call, but I'm feeling Debo this week. I think he's going to playing Arizona at home. I think that he could have a really, really big game here. I know he's like a boomer bust type guy, kind of, because sometimes he's not in the game plan, and you've got Jennings and Ayuk and Kittle and Mason, so you're kind of playing with a little bit of fire there. But I just think the Niners are going to score a crap ton of points against Arizona. And I think Debo's got a great chance to get in the end zone. And maybe he'll get some rushing. He'll catch it. He'll make some plays.
Yeah. A couple of guys I wanted to point out. Michael Pittman Jr.
Yep, I'm on him. He's on mine too.
$6,000 playing with Flacco. If you're going with Flacco, that's a great opportunity to stack. Pittman Jr. really struggling with Anthony Richardson. Obviously, his completion percentage is a little bit tougher. Flacco, veteran, gonna throw the ball, especially with Jonathan Taylor out. Couple value plays. Xavier Legette, $5,100. He's really emerging in Carolina, especially Adam Thielen is out. So he's getting some increased snaps there with Andy Dalton. Again, another veteran quarterback that's able to spray the ball over the yard. And then Yoshi, Andre Yeshivas with the Bengals. High point total matchup again, 50.5. He's at $4,000, and he's a very good red zone guy, and they do throw it a lot inside the 10-yard line. So he's the guy I would look for. Also, one more, Trey Tucker with the Raiders, $4,100 coming off 2 very strong games.
A couple I was looking at on the value thing. I know he's up to 5,600 because he's been going off lately, but I don't know what's going on with Ayuk still, and so Jawan Jennings still has value at 5,600.
Sure.
Because Ayuk's struggling. And then the other one I was looking at was Jerry Jeudy, kind of as a play off what Moody said about that Commanders game. He's 5,200, and I think there's a chance he could have a game against the Commanders. So those were kind of a couple of the ones I was looking at.
Moody, who stands out to you of the pass catchers?
Well, I'm going to have Amari Cooper on my team. I'm probably going to pair him with Deshaun Watson. If Watson's going to have a good game, you assume that Amari Cooper is going to have a good one as well. You've been a big leader of the fan bus for Amari Cooper. I'm right there with you. He's a stud. He has the volume. It's been Deshaun Watson's fault to this point of the season. I expect a good week from both of those players. Another guy that I'm looking at is Brian Thomas Jr. for Jacksonville. He just continues to be a part of this offense and really kind of the focal point of the passing game. I think he was 6 of 9, caught 6 of his 9 targets, had another touchdown. I like Brian Thomas Jr. And then somebody else you could talk me into this week is Terry McLaurin. The Jaden Daniels thing, he's been so damn good. I think McLaurin has some value, but I like Cooper the most and Brian Thomas Jr. Those are my 2 guys that are kind of in that mid-range that I'll be taking a look at.
And I have one more to mention. You mentioned Christian Watson being out. Wicks is 5,000 for Green Bay.
Yep.
And I know Reed's the number 1 guy, but he's up to 6,600. I think Wicks at 5,000 might have some value.
Okay. All right, let's talk about tight ends. We start at Trey McBride, top of the market, $5,900. We got George Kittle, $5,600. Brock Bowers coming off a disappointing game, $5,500. Goes all the way down. You can get some value at like $3,400. Mike Gesicki, $3,500. Tucker Kraft. Who do you like in the tight ends?
I went bargain hunting here, and I went all the way down to 2,700 and took all junior, who's been replacing Gesicki in Cincinnati.
Okay,
he's been getting targets and catching balls, and Gesicki's falling off a cliff, and Burrow likes going to the tight end, and so I spent money in a lot of other places and went cheap at tight end, but he's been getting the targets lately, and Gesicki's got to go to your bench.
I like that. Moody, who do you like from the tight end market?
I think my favorite play of the week is probably Colby Parkinson for the Rams. They just don't have anybody on the outside. He's getting steady looks. He's $3,700. Somebody else you could talk me into is Tucker Kraft now that Jordan Love is back. 6 of 9 targets. And he had a touchdown last week, so my debate is between those 2 guys. Kraft is $200 cheaper than Parkinson, but I still think there's slightly better quarterback play whenever you have Matthew Stafford, so I'll probably lean that direction.
Yeah, I like Kraft. Again, 48.5 is the point total in this game. Jordan Love throws it way more than Malik Willis, and surprisingly, Luke Musgrave, who they drafted last year pretty high, has not been the go-to tight end. It's been Tucker Kraft, both with targets, catches, and in the end zone. So Tucker Kraft at $3,500 is a great value. Wanted to also point out, high point total, this game we talked about a lot. Baltimore and Cincy. The pricing has changed. We got Isaiah Likely $4,400, and we got Mark Andrews $4,000. Mark Andrews has been a total dud so far, but it's interesting to see Likely overtaken by that much. And Likely hasn't been great either ever since week 1.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like I said, the only thing on that is I just think the Ravens are going to run it. I mean, Lamar might run it. You look at Cincinnati, their run D sucks, and I think it's pretty obvious what the Ravens' game plan should be here.
Yep. All right, defense special teams market starts with the Niners, $3,700, Bears, $36,000, Seahawks, $35,000, then falls off quite a bit after that, all the way down to the Cardinals at $2,300. Mincy, you like on the defense?
I went cheap, and I'm going back to the trend I told you about. For some reason, the Colts always play like shit in Jacksonville. So Jacksonville's 20. Yeah, I went cheap here to save money because of that. Obviously, if it looks like Flacco's going, and I would rather Richardson go on the fantasy side of it. But for whatever reason, I mean, and if Taylor's out too, that ain't going to help. I'm just going to go Jacksonville just on that hunch that the Colts always play bad in Jacksonville.
Yep. Moody, which of the defense special teams units do you fancy?
I don't know that I love any of them this week. Nothing like jumps off the page to me, but I'm probably just going to take either Seattle or New England. Just Miami has not looked good without a quarterback back there. Huntley, he didn't impress me by any means. So I'll probably lean to the Patriots. They have not been great either, though, defensively. Like, they've been kind of middle of the road. But at 2,900, I think they offer the best value, at least from what I'm seeing. So that's probably the direction I'm going to go.
I'd point out Denver, $2,900. They're going against the Raiders, which is a team that is probably not going to score a ton of points. And, in DFS, you get more points with the less points scored. I like Denver at 2,900. I think they're a great streaming play in regular fantasy this week, too. At a bargain price at $2,900, I'm going to ride with the Broncos. All right, so who's one guy that you're going to have in all your lineups no matter what this week, guys? Well, who's your plant your flag guy? Mincy, I'll start with you. Any position.
My plant my flag guy this week, man, like I said, it's a hunch thing, but I just got a feeling on this Debo thing against the Cardinals. I mean, I know it's a hunch thing because it could bust, but I just really feel like the Niners offense is going to go off, and I feel like this, he's a couple weeks back from health now, and I think he could have a game Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Debo, $6,800 is a solid. When he plays, he is dynamic and high point total game. I like that. Moody, who's your plant your flag guy of the week?
My plant my flag guy of the week is going to have to be Amari Cooper, coming in at $6,200. He usually has the volume. He's going up against a defense that's been pretty bad against the pass. They've been playing the highest scoring games every single week. I like Amari Cooper at $6,200, assuming that Deshaun Watson stays upright and delivers him the football. If that's the case, I expect the biggest and probably maybe the best game of the entire season for Amari Cooper this week against Washington.
He also had a 70-yard touchdown call back last week, too.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Michael Pittman Jr. We talked about $6,000. With Joe Flacco, they're going to spray it around. This is I think it's a 46.5 point total game. But without a running game, I'm not expecting Trey Sermon to take this game over. If this is a case where, Jacksonville's dominating, expect the ball to be flying even more. So Michael Pittman Jr., $6,000. One I would point out, though, Stephon Diggs, $6,900, going against Buffalo, revenge game. They priced that into it, I think.
They definitely did.
That's a little expensive for him.
He was cheaper against Minnesota in the other one, and he had a good game.
And they obviously planned to feed him. So I didn't make him my flag just because he did seem a little bit inflated, but he is still a guy that I like this week.
Like the Jamar Chase has a really good history. His numbers against the Ravens are crazy in his career, but
it shows $8,000. That's a lot.
That's the thing.
Yeah, but I mean, him, Derrick Henry, top guy, Lamar Jackson, everybody.
Yeah, and if you go Moody theory and go to Deshaun Watson and go Parkinson at tight end and go cheap at defense, you can stack up on the top guys.
Yeah. This will be a very interesting week with the high point totals. So best of luck to all those playing. Appreciate it. Make sure you're playing on DraftKings for the King of the South. Mincy, you got to close.
Just the pick six thing, and also the $3 $1 million prize pool. Make sure it's just fire.
Just copy your lineup. We'll be in the Pardon My Take AWL lineup, so you can compete against us. But also, just copy your lineup for a couple more bucks. Try and strike it rich.
Hell yeah!
All right, for the King of South, Mincy. For Moody, I'm Stephen Shea. Good luck this week.
The crown is yours.